Okay. Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Well, I am DJ T-Nashae. I am a native of a small town about 15 minutes north of Atlanta, Marietta, Georgia. As I mentioned before, I grew up in a diverse background of music, and over the years, I started to find this passion for pulling music together and providing it to friends, family, and as I continued on, I found that that could be tied to this thing we now define as DJing, and was blessed to have the opportunity to work and be nurtured by several uh, amazing DJs, one to my right, who will introduce himself shortly. But based on my own background in music and being exposed to the DJ culture, I started out, I want to say, in the early 2000s. So I'm not that old school, but prior to Serato being the big piece it is now for many, I did start in that. So I've done a lot of mobile events. I've done lots of corporate events, um, and I've done things with Disney and some other stuff. So that's my quick track record in this. And, you know, I enjoyed it. And it was something that I just did not see coming as the way that it did, but it definitely worked itself out. So I've been able to be a radio mix show DJ, which was a dream come true as well. So that's me.
What she said.
Yours is different.
Uh, I'm just a small town country boy. I don't even remember when I started DJing. So professionally, I want to say it was in the '90s, but early '80s, I was trying to whatever I see on TV, I was trying to do, and I was into it. As far as my background, I've been DJing here in Atlanta for a long time. Produced a couple of tracks for a couple of people, nothing major. Then I stopped, and I got back into DJing again, what I love doing, just for myself. Retired now, but just doing it every now and then on the internet. That's about to run down.
You gotta ask him.
Mhm. In the '80s, I can't tell you, I was in the country. I was in Covington, Georgia in the '80s. So it was mostly pop music, Boy George, Comic Amelia, Our House in the Middle of the Street. Uh, and a couple of radio stations started to play with hip hop a little bit. First time I ever heard something was on well, it wasn't the first time, but the big station V103 had a thing called a Fresh Party, and it would come on every other Friday night or something. And another guy, I want to say he's in Monroe, Georgia. I think his name was Wonderful Ray. He had a hip hop show, and that's where first heard Roxanne, all the classic golden hits. That's when I first heard it, and then I was hooked on that. Like I said, when I first heard Herbie Hancock Rocket, I first seen DJ XT doing the scratch. I didn't know what he was doing. Me and my cousin was trying to figure it out, tearing my mama turntables up, and from there, just she gave me some money to go to the record store. I want to say my first record I bought was either it was either Clear by Cybertron or Auto Noise Beatbox, one of the two. And from there, I would go. They would let no, they would let you listen to the records in the record shop. So I would be up there every other weekend with some money. Whatever came out, I'll buy it.
Yeah, it was a little different for me. So I grew up in church. So a lot of my music was Christian gospel music coming up, but my parents listened to pretty much everything. So I grew up listening to Luther Vandross, Anita Baker. A lot of old school R&B music was heavy in my life, heavy in my home. Saturday mornings, I would wake up to Sherelle and Alexander O'Neal, so I knew it was time to clean up. That's a cue in the Southern households. So for me, I had exposure to a lot of different styles of music. I was in a band, so I played classical music, George, Gershwin to whatever. So my background in music covers a lot of different bases. I also enjoyed alternative music. So, yes, I did like um, Aerosmith was one of my favorites. When I was in middle school, I was an Aerosmith girl, like some Guns N' Roses. That's why I'm a little more eclectic in my music, in my background. So yeah, that was me.
Oh, my mom, she had an 8 track, so she was listening to the Johnson brother. I'll never forget that because she played it to death. The Johnson brother, the whole album. Strawberry Lady 22 was her favorite. And that's one of my favorite too. My dad, he was a jazz musician, so he was always playing jazz records and stuff. So I would bop to it, you know. And then when I got into my thing, he would always tell me, "What is that? Turn that bebop, that hip hop, that bass." Right. Mm, that's a, I mean, it's a good question. It's a hard question too because it's changed and then it's coming back. I mean, from the '80s, it went electrical to, saying there still was some bands out there, and synthesizer was coming, and then as the years went by, it went to straight computers. All the bands went away. And now I'm seeing a lot of people getting bands back together. When I watch Tiny Desk and stuff, everybody bring a band with them. So I'm like, I'm loving that because you know the bands are dying out, and I love the musical. You know what I'm saying?
I guess I look at it from a band perspective as well, and I call it like a beautiful complexity. So, when you know how to play an instrument or you put several people together that know how to do so, you can build something that is not easily replicated. And now, the music now can be easily replicated with the computer. And now we have a totally different beast to deal with, AI technology that can generate anything. So, as far as what has changed to me, the creativity behind music was lost for a while. I think it is rebounding and it's looked at in a different way. But that's why I think so many artists, especially in the hip, whatever you want to call this now, hip hop. I don't even know if I define it as that, but rap nowadays, a lot of people have the same trending sound because there's no creativity instrumentation. That's just my opinion. I will agree to that, but I will say it's happened over musical history, right? You'll see a genre take off and then everyone wants to trend towards that genre. But I think it's more prevalent now because we have access to more things. We have access to social media platforms. Like at this point, record labels really are competing against regular day to day people because you can build your own following on YouTube now and make your own music without even having to touch a label. But I think you're right, that the music industry has tainted the creativity behind music because if it's selling, oh, we want to push this, and now 30,000 people sound the same. You know what I mean? So I agree with
I
you.
wish I could pull it out, but it's not here no more because somebody threw it away. But anyway, uh,
I didn't throw it away.
okay, okay. Um,
I don't even know what it was.
I begged my dad for a mixer and some turntable, and it's a turntable over there, and not that turntable, Dad, but he didn't get it. But my stepmom bought my first mixer. And it was a Radio Shack mixer. Pretty much all the DJs got this. And I fell in love with it because and you had to make it work, but I still didn't have no turntable. And my brother gave me. They used to back in the day. They used to rent stuff from Rent a Center, whole stereo system. And they came and got one, but the turntable wasn't on it because he had moved it. So he had two turntables, so he gave me one. So I had one turntable and one mixer. It wasn't a technique, but it was enough for me to get started. So I would mix from a tape. It was you had to be creative back then.
When I finally decided to do this seriously, it was around the time where CDs were the thing to use. And I had this little Newmark dual CD player that it had these little round buttons that you could quote unquote scratch the music. It was so corny. But for me, I thought, oh my God, I finally got some DJ equipment. I was so happy. I like put it in the bed with me. Like I woke up with it. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. And over time, not too long after that, I got exposed to the real things that I was supposed to have. So I got my first. I was lucky and got my first pair of Technique 1200s for $200 for both. I, they missed. I think they sold it to me incorrectly, so I got out of there quick.
Mhm.
But yeah, a mutual friend of ours, he called me and told me, "Hey, they got these turntables up at this pawn shop. Go check them out. They in good condition." So I like hauled it over there, and the guy was like, "Okay, I'll sell them to you for 200." And then when I got to the counter, I assumed 200 each, but they gave them both to me, so I still have them. Now mine are still here somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that pawn shop looking for you.
no, it's bad. That's their fault. It's mine now.
In a way it has, in a way it hurts, but in a lot of ways it helped. A lot of the new DJs, um, they get in it and it's really. I can't say it's really well. I can't say it's easy. It's more easier to learn it with the newer stuff. So I would say it would help them, but it kind of hurt the older DJs that's still out there working, because like you said, Atlanta is saturated with DJs, but it ain't saturated with work.
I think that's the key word, saturation. So I think technology, yeah, made it easier whether you're old or new DJ, right? You're not having to lug around like in his time crates, or as time progressed, cases upon cases upon cases of CDs as you have to bring with you, right? You're not having to do that anymore because it's all consolidated to an external hard drive or computer, depending on what you have. The equipment controllers, of course, have now become the go to for many people, which is fine. But I think that when that happened, it made it more attainable, which is it's okay. And I'm slowing down on my word choice because I don't want this to come across like, oh, it should have never happened. It was going to happen anyway, but it made it more attainable to become a DJ because I know, and I'm pretty sure he can say the same. Unless you knew someone or you self-taught yourself, that wasn't something you could go back on YouTube and find during the times that we were coming through. So that's why I say technology, not just with the equipment, but even what's accessible to people, has made it easier to become a DJ, which is why there are so many at this time. So it's very saturated. It's a highly saturated market.
Yeah, and I will say this one thing about the equipment: it didn't get cheaper, and I thought it was expensive back in the day, but now it's like, oh wow. But the payout for DJs has gotten low, but the equipment is getting higher. Like basically what you said, the technology made stuff more easier to pack. Then saying I got you lose records, it's hard. You can't find them no more. It's people walking away, but you got hard drives. You got 2 or 3 hard drives, so that made it more better for me. And plus I don't got old. I can't be carrying this stuff no more anyway.
Like I said, accessibility, um, convenience, right? Like you're saying, you're somewhere, you're at an event, and oh, can you play this song? Or oh, I forgot, I needed this song at this point. And especially now with the advancements within Serato or whatever application DJs are using, you can actually utilize your music applications like Tidal, SoundCloud, and just pull directly from that. It has saved me many a times when people are looking for specific things that I'm not expecting, and I can quickly just pull it up directly in Serato without even having to download it. as long as there's Wi-Fi available. But which we can prepare ourselves for that too, because now with technology advancements, our phones come with hotspots. So we don't even have to buy the standalone devices like we used to maybe about 10 years ago. So it's still like all of these advancements are benefits to DJs, even compacting the equipment with line array speakers or whatever, making it not so cumbersome for especially females, because there have been times in the past I have had to lift 100-pound subwoofers, these speakers by myself. I didn't always have help. So yeah, and there was many times I was by myself. So because of course he's a DJ and he was a heavy club DJ, and I would have mobile gigs, and this is even before we became what we are now. I was doing my thing, he was doing his. So I had to be able to do it by myself. And it wasn't always easy, but it had to get done.
Yeah, and I will say one thing about, like she said, when people come request a song, back in the day, it wasn't, that wasn't a thing. I mean, it was, but not as, because
Right.
you only had what you had. They only heard what they heard. Because you only, even with different genres, they would only want what they hear on the radio. So you would have that in your crate. If you're a DJ, you're supposed to anyway. So, but now it's so many different types of genres, music that come out every day, and then you DJing. So you got this, you know, play this, right? Why you ain't got it?
Jermaine Dupri actually did a video about that same topic, and he was saying, and I agree, that music has a frequency, right? And the sound waves that create music can either uplift you or pull you down, right? And I think that music during that time had a lot of high frequency and people enjoyed it, and that's why it has longevity. Versus a lot of the music we hear now, it like makes you question life. Like, you know, what am I here for? So I don't want to think about, I want to have fun when I'm at a party. And that's where music from the 90s, and I would even say up to the mid 2000s, provided. And that's why when you go to an event, whether we're in Australia, here in Atlanta, or wherever the case may be, you play something from the 90s, I guarantee you someone in that room, people will definitely enjoy it versus a lot of this stuff now.
Yeah, I kind of like Afrobeat a little bit now.
Yeah,
So it's a
that's
couple things out there that I'm starting because I just turned the radio off. Like I said, I started listening to a couple of new people. I like this one little young guy from he's from the West Coast and he's young, but I think he has an old soul because I can kind of relate to what he rap about because it happened to him. His name is Buddy, so I listen to him a lot. And it's a couple of new people. I forget their names. I just listen to their music, and I see what I can understand what they're saying, and I can sometimes relate to what they're talking about because when I was younger, that same thing happened to me. So I give them a listen.
um for me, and I think an artist we both like is Masego. Um, enjoy his music a lot. I'm more into neo soul now, and I think that has a lot to do with my age. And any artists that are along that line is what suits me. So Alex Isley is in heavy rotation for me, along with Moonchild. I love Moonchild. Oh my goodness. Like they are an amazing, amazing group. So they're one of my favorites at this point. I can't say that Atlanta is struggling with venues because so many people are moving here. So what happens is I think there's a lot more competition with the venues. But the longevity of them is where it always is the issue, right? How long does this club become the main scene? And also where young people are now, like how are they participating in the club environment? Meaning, During our time of being out there, you partied, you had a good time, you enjoyed yourself. Now it's more like, oh, look at me, I'm on Instagram and I'm in the VIP section, but they're not really actually partying and being in the moment. So I think that also impacts longevity. And I hate to say it, but it's true. Crime. Now, crime rates in Atlanta are growing exponentially. And because of that, it makes it challenging for you to go out and enjoy these venues that we have. So I think what has grown in Atlanta is something I don't think anybody expected. Many people are now preferring to be at restaurants that have DJs and serve brunch. Brunch is a whole like culture in Atlanta. And on Sundays, there are day parties, so that's to me has become the trend versus being out in clubs more because it's daytime. There's a less chance of stuff happening. You can get some food, you can still hear music to the point where people are still partying and dancing. So that's what's taking off in Atlanta. Brunch is a whole thing here.
Yeah.
Usually about 11 o'clock on a Sunday until about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a very mixed up menu. You could have, for American based food, we'll say chicken and waffles, things like that. Steak and eggs and pancakes. So it's just a mixture of brunch with lunch and dinner or breakfast and lunch. It's just a mixture. So you pick what you like. The bigger thing here is what they call bottomless mimosas. So mixture of orange juice and champagne. You get several bottles throughout the day. You mix that with a DJ and a good food, you got a good time. So that's really what's going on. Has completely taken over in Atlanta on Sundays. Like that's the new party day. You take that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So our kids are 8 and 11, going on 9 and 12. And like you said, at that age, we knew artists. We were tied to the TV to see what's Michael Jackson doing, Whitney Houston. We knew those artists. Um, when I play certain things in the car, or here in the house, my kids know the music, but it's not like, oh, mom, play this song, or can I hear that song? You don't get that reaction from them. But if it's anything from YouTube, there are artists and music that they can tell me about that I'm like, what is that? But that's what attracts them. They listen heavily to they watch a lot of YouTubers and video gamers, and whatever music is attached to that is what catches their attention. So it was what's Nate Dogg and um, oh god, Regulators, right?
Mm.
So my oldest, he knew the song, and I'm like, how do you know that? Oh, I saw it on the video. I heard it on the video game. But had it been just like how we heard music, no, it's not the same reaction. So unless it's attached to a game or YouTube, it's nothing to them.
Or
So yeah,
anime.
well, yeah, that goes hand in hand, but
Yeah.
that's where their attention is, and if there's something associated with it from our time frame, that's the only way they'll know or pay attention to it. So yeah, it's background noise too here.
Music production, I can say AI is killing it right now because you can pretty much type something and then it's gonna come out, and then you can change it a little bit. If you already know how to make music, you can just add that to it. So, but I will say, I'm kind of let me back a little bit because I just recently I was at work last night and my co-driver, he's a younger guy, and he was listening to some Tupac, but it wasn't Tupac, but it sounded just like Tupac, and I was like, I never heard this song, but then I looked at the title, it was Tupac AI, and I was like, and it blew my mind because it sounds exactly like Tupac. So I kind of I'm on the fence about that. I kind of don't agree with doing that because I what if Tupac didn't agree to that? You know what I'm saying? So, but it's out of my hands. But I don't. But other than that, AI is getting kind of out of control what they're doing with it.
Yeah, I think AI will play a big factor in isolating actual DJs. And the reason why I say that is because they have an AI DJ in Spotify. I mean, he hosts and everything, and it's like, hey, this is your DJ such and such, and I'm checking in, da, da, da. And I'm like, I was thinking this was a real person, and I'm like,
Mm,
what? And then I look at my phone, and you have this wave file, but it's an AI tool, and at that moment, I'm like, this really can take DJs' jobs, especially like in the club scenes, because you think about how playlists started being something a lot of clubs could rely on to fill in for a DJ here and there. Of course, it's not like a real DJ. Okay, it will never fully replace us, but does it have the possibility to? Yeah. And so I've always told my fellow DJ colleagues, you need to have a backup plan because years ago, before things got to where they are now, I could see how there would be a decline in the market and how it would become more challenging to do it as we were doing it then. And so, I think every DJ out here needs to understand how AI works and make it work for you, because it will be your competitor. It already is.
mm.
I want to speak on this one because it's a big thing amongst female DJs too. So, yes, I it's already here. Like people can fake DJing at this point. I've seen YouTube clips where guys didn't even have the equipment plugged up. And they was standing there pumping the fist and doing all of this stuff and the equipment wasn't even plugged up. So yeah, I mean it's already happening. Um the impact of AI will make it easier to become a DJ.
And I got another thing about sync because sync you don't even have to do that anymore because the consumer they the radio is training people how to listen to music. So a lot of DJs don't even sync music. They'll play a song, they hit a transition of a horn or a sound effect, and the next one.
And drop
Right.
it.
And that's I guess you can call it DJing, but real DJs that's not DJing. But the people they just want to hear the song. So if you're playing what they want to hear, they don't care if it's mixed, if it's blend, just as long as it come in a good way. So yeah, you can play a song and go off and throw a horn effect in there, a little time, and then play the next song. Production, I'm seeing a lot of different things come out for production wise, and me, I'm gonna stick with what I know, but I'm gonna try to learn it. You know what I'm saying? Without spending money out of my pocket, and you know how you click on something, you might like something, and then you click on it, and that's another thing with AI too. So next thing you know, on my timeline, I got all this stuff coming down my Facebook. You might like this, so check this out. I'm like, yo, but yeah. So production wise, I see a lot of different things that I do want to try. Uh, DJing, I think I'm gonna stick where I'm at because now everybody going to prescription, and I don't want to be paying for something for the rest of my life.
For me, I will say the advancement in production software will be helpful to mix show DJs when you have to make radio mix shows because it can be a very time consuming process. And making, the virtual software that we already have, the digital software we have, does make it easier. But I will say, in a sense, AI will be helpful in some of that, not saying you rely on it to do it for you. And I think that's the thing about AI is how you use it. And if you're using it to supplement or help you get through something faster than you would have the traditional way, but you're not relying on it to do it for you, if that makes any sense at all. So that's what I'm excited about, especially when it it comes down to putting these mixes together for radio stations, and sometimes you have a lot of parameters you have to follow when you're doing it, and it can be taxing, on you when you have day to day things you need to get done. So that's what I look forward to, technology wise.
Creativity, practice, time, and reading the crowd, and not DJing for yourself. I know a lot of DJs do that, but there's a
Yeah,
time and a place for that.
there you go. It depends.
Yeah.
And knowing your music, you gotta know that. Number one. And you have to be diverse. If you, well, I don't want to say you have to be, but it's helpful to be diverse because then you're not limited to just one specific audience type. So when you know more music, you can do more.
Right. Reading the crowd for me is looking at look actually no exactly what it's saying. Looking at the people out in your audience, see what they're vibing to, see if they're bobbing their head to what you're playing. I see if they're looking at you crazy, like you know. But that's my thing. See if they're bobbing their head. See if you got one or two person in the corner dancing. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna cater to them and try to get some more people. You know what I'm saying? That's how I read the crowd.
Oh, well, I thought you did good with answering that. You want me to add more?
Hmm.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
every DJ.
Yeah, to his point, yes, that I also look at demographics. I look at age, um, and use that to kind of get a feel of what they might possibly be expecting. It's not always accurate, right? But I know if it's an age group of 35 and up, and I can pick one song and see how they react to that, then I know to continue down that road. Um, if I misread that audience based on their age group and I go somewhere else, then I know to go down that road. And it's just based on their reaction. I think one challenging part about reading a crowd is when you've done all that you can do. Then you just got a tough crowd, right? And it's just accepting when you have that moment. Because I think we've all can say we've had that moment. And it's like, I don't know what else to do at this point.
And you can't. You're not gonna please everybody. So your thing is to please majority.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I think it's just it needs to be at the right time. You know. Also, it needs to be something that I know will not be offensive. When I say that, I personally play clean edited music. But if you come to me with something that's just out of pocket, and I know the bride, let's say bride or groom, I know them and I know what they're looking to have. If it's not in line with that, I'll be like, hey, you either need to go talk to them about that before I go down that road. Because what you don't want to do is play something that's going to offend the people that's paying you, So I always factor that in. But if it's at the appropriate time, like don't come to me when I'm first starting out. Like, no, just give me a minute to at least get in there and get things moving. Especially if we have like an identified program, then you're gonna have to wait. But yeah, otherwise, I don't have an issue with requests. I know some DJs are like no requests. I'm like, it doesn't hurt as long as you don't get bombarded.
For me, it's different because I you know what I'm saying. Especially if I know what kind of crowd I got, if I already know what type of party this is, and then if you get somebody with an off the wall request that don't fit the vibe, I probably won't do it.
But what I do in those moments is if it's something crazy and they keep bugging me about it, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Now I'm good for that because I'm like, okay, hold on, we got, if this person will not let up, then I'm gonna put them on the spot and call them out on the microphone if it comes to it. But otherwise, I'm with
Right? In this day and age, I would say branding and promoting. Um, for me as a DJ, that question you asked, it's kind of flipped because from my era, the best producers were DJs. So they was DJs before they were producers. I don't know if you can go from being a producer to a DJ. I'm pretty sure you can, but I don't know anybody that's done that. But I do know a lot of DJs that transitioned to producers and what I'm saying, got famous. Didn't happen to me. I tried, but but I would say branding and promoting.
Yeah, I agree with promotion in this day and age that we're in. Turntablist would be last on my list because that doesn't fit every event. That's something that you do at home, you practice, and like if you're in the right environment, there's nothing wrong with using your turntablism skills at an event, but don't overdo it because you probably won't be asked back. But depending on what kind of event it is. But I think promotion would be number one because there are so many DJs. You have to be able to set yourself apart now. So having that skill set would put you ahead of others that don't have it.
For me, I like guitar and bass. I can play bass a little bit on my keyboard, but I don't play. You know what I'm saying? Play. So I think the guitar and and the piano. I mean, I love the keys on the piano. I play by ear, but somebody that can actually play, that's a talent. And I wish I had that.
Piano, just plain and simple. If you can play piano, you can probably play anything. So it has treble clef and everything. So yeah,
Here in Atlanta, I don't know what this. I don't know who came out with paying the DJ last. I don't know. You know, so we had to demand it now. Pay me when I'm done so I can leave. So you would have to most of the time you would have to sit at the bar, everybody getting their money, they counting, and you'd be the last person to get your money. I don't know what that was about, but that was my one of my pet peeves. And then as far as a mobile DJ, the breakdown and packing up.
yeah. I can't say I had the experience with the money situation because I have a whole different requirement. But yeah, the breaking down at the end of the night is always the rough part. And driving home. That drive home, especially for me, I get sleepy. Here's my take with that. I think it depends on who you are and what your audience is and what you provide. Because there are some folks who, you know, are doing fairly well. Now, I will say during and after the pandemic, yeah, everything took a hit financially. Um, but some folks are still staying afloat. But yeah, I think there was a hit in a sense. But also, it depends on who you're marketing yourself to. A lot of the stuff I did in my past were with corporate entities and people who really were doing let's say weddings and things of that sort that had a budget to do a wedding. So it just depends on who you are working with, and how you market yourself and what you value yourself at. So yeah, it did slightly decrease after the pandemic, but is it a complete like loss? I can't say yes to that personally.
And I agree with what she's saying. And then for the club DJs, I would say it maybe I think it went down because, like I said, it's saturated. So you might say, "Oh, I'm not going to do it for that price," but it's always going to be somebody out there that's going to do it for that price, and that's just the thing.
So
But
in
it's
the club scene, yes, but
yeah,
in mobile scene, not really.
save your money,
But what if they had their money? What would you tell them to get, basically?
save more money.
Save even more.
Be prepared to spend more money.
I mean, let's answer the question head on though, because the first thing is, and especially with how DJing is now, you need to have a good performing computer. Like before you even get down into the weeds of the actual equipment itself, Now that's the standard. You got to have a strong computer. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Mac, but you need something that's going to be reliable. Um, because I know you're not you CDs we don't have anymore. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? So that's the first step. And then as far as actual DJ equipment, um, a standard controller with one of the main brands, like now this is where it gets funky. So right now I'm gonna say Rain over Pioneer. Um, that's subject to debate, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I think as long as you stay in a strong brand, and work within a budget you can currently afford based on what you can go out there and recoup money for. Because again, the point of a DJ, I hope, is to go out there and put the skill to use. And if you're going to step out there, you need to be prepared and charge accordingly. Then you're making your money back to eventually pay off or upgrade your equipment. So that would be my advice. And don't get cheap headphones either. You don't have to spend $300 and $400, but you can get some decent ones.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I was the first one or the only one, but I didn't see nobody because all the karaoke DJ, all the karaoke clubs, parties, they basically had the same stuff. They had a book. You pick the songs out the book. You know what? You pick your genre and you do your karaoke, and the party is good. You know what I'm saying? So I came across a software that you can make your own karaoke. So I was like, let me test this out. So I want to say late 2000s when all the hip hop crunk music. So I basically would download the lyrics, put it in software, make me an instrumental, make an acapella, and then make that a karaoke song. So I tested out in sports bars got big here in Atlanta, so I tested out in the sports bar, and I want to say I was the only one that had all this hip hop crunk music and karaoke. So when people saw you got that in the book, let me do that, let me do that, and from our crowd was already good. I want to say within that month we had people, and we had people that just wanted to come do that. They wanted to do all the Ti songs. They wanted to do all the hip hop songs that was out. I had a karaoke to it. So I don't know if anybody else in Atlanta did it, but I did do that. For me, it was I can say I didn't DJ like everybody else, and that's just me because I'm always got a creative something. I'm trying to do something different, and I took that to the club, and it worked. It worked for me, and so I would say the same thing. Just try not to. I mean, you might find your favorite DJ and you like the way they do it, but if you find something that you like, you're gonna emulate it. Try to put your own twist to it. Try to put your own twist. Don't be exactly like that person because you know that person might be exactly like the somebody that you don't even know. So and then that's why you get the same sound and the DJ's playing the same. Because I mean I've seen it where like like here in Atlanta we have open up DJ, close out DJ, and some of the clubs got three DJs, and I've seen the first DJ go on. He did his thing. The next DJ played the same exact set, the same songs. So it was like in the same way. But that's what I say for me. Yeah, the stems are a game changer, especially if you already know how to DJ. Um,
But I mean, to that point though, and I'm gonna give him his credit. Before stems, that was his style. So that's why you could tell it was him. There wasn't a lot of people doing that. So when stems actually came out, I got concerned because I'm like, okay, now everybody's gonna be doing that because that was his signature sound um for a long time. There's a lot of things to his credit that he would have ideas and do. Like he was one of the first people saw DJing with two iPads, you know, just he just wanted to test it out. But he doesn't give himself enough credit, and I'm gonna do that now. The whole idea that using stems is something that this man was doing, I want to say a long time ago, like when I first met him. So it for him, it just advanced something he was already doing. For everyone else, it's like, oh, it's like the doors of creativity were open. Like he was the one that told me, oh, this is how you can create your own acapellas before stems even got to where it is. And we talking about over a decade ago. So I gave in your pot.
Thank you. Yeah, I forgot about that.
You forgot.
Yeah,
You
I
forgot, Joe.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
So yeah.
but basically what I was saying, if you already know how to use an acapella and an instrumental, now you got stems. Because back then I didn't have the music part of the stems. Now you got the music part of it instead of just the acapellas. So if you already know how to produce and stuff, you can add that to what you already know. So I don't think a lot of DJs are using it like they could be using it.
Right.
So that's why I say it's a game changer.